Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of A Little Bit Unglamorous. I'm your host, Erica Renee, and it is post 4th of July weekend. It's currently Sunday. I'm enjoying the weekend. Went out earlier for a few drinks, some brunch, and it's been a great weekend. So 4th of July, the last day I left you, I was trying to figure out what I was going to make for this 4th of July event I was going to. I'm happy to report that my food that I made was edible, so I know. Thank you so much. We ended up bringing little pigs in the blanket with cheese, and I know it's the most simple recipe ever, but sometimes the most simplest dishes are the best ones. And so we had a great time. Mostly just spent the day relaxing and then went over to my friend's place around 5 or 6 o'clock, watched the fireworks from her place. She has this beautiful house that overlooks pretty much all of San Diego, so you could see all of the fireworks going off everywhere. It was so fun. So I've had a nice long weekend this weekend. I had a 3-day weekend. I took off Friday and I was helping one of my friends out with some photography for an event that she had, and it was a lot of fun. I really love doing creative things, and it was a nice break from work, so I kind of feel like I have a long weekend even though it technically wasn't one. But right now I have 2 dogs and a boyfriend staying with me, and my apartment looks pretty damn clean. If you're looking behind me, it's not so bad. I spent all day yesterday cleaning, and it's not the biggest place, and there's a lot of people packed in here right now. It's been so warm over the weekend, the past week, and here I was the last month hoping that it would get warmer, and here it is. I got what I asked for, and because right now while I'm filming, I try not to run the fan just because I'm worried that you'll be able to hear it in the background. So we're gonna power through this, even though it might get a little warm. There will be no fan noise in the background. And something really funny that I have to mention. So I live in a apartment area. It's a pretty heavily populated area by the beach, lots of apartment complexes, and anybody that lives in a major city knows there is street sweeping that happens about once a month, I think, and depending on where you live, it's a certain day each month. And at least where I live, they do one side of the street on, say, a Wednesday and the next side of the street on a Thursday. So you have to move your car at least twice. And so I have a designated parking spot. So I haven't had to move my car for street sweeping in years. Totally over my head, out of sight, out of mind. Well, so my boyfriend is here this weekend, and he parked his car, and it just so happened to be the first whatever day of the month. I think it was a Wednesday. He got a parking ticket. I felt so bad. I said, "Hey, did you get your car moved?" He goes, "Yes, but not before I got a ticket." I literally ran out there, and the person had the ticket in their hand and handed it to me. The worst possible scenario. And so he's like, "Yeah, I got my car moved." The next morning, gets another ticket because the street sweeping came on the other side. So he got 2 tickets in the course of 2 days, and I felt so awful because I didn't even think about it. Here, I should know these things because I live here. But like I said, I have a designated parking spot, so I completely did not remember. It's officially summer, and I'm really excited to spend summertime by the beach. I anticipate traveling a lot next year. I'll talk about that probably in later podcasts to come, but I'm pretty excited for the next year coming up. But right now, I'm just really enjoying summer, and I just love that I can have a drink by my place, by the water, and come home, and life could be worse. So I kind of want to start a new segment, and I want it to be called What Grinds My Gears, because every once in a while I always think of something that makes me just a little bit peeved. I always try to focus on the positive, but there's always that one thing that I'm like, that made me so annoyed. And this was that this week. Actually, I feel like it happens a lot to me, but I was thinking about it specifically this week. So what really grinds my gears is when people ask you if your job is what you always dreamed of doing. Okay. Who remembers when they're in elementary school and every career day they would ask you what you want to do, and everyone said marine biologist? I don't think any of us actually knew what a marine biologist did, but we were just told growing up, that's what you want to do. You either want to be a scientist, an astronaut, or a marine biologist. And somebody asked me that recently, and I just thought it was very odd, an odd thing to ask. No, Susan, we're all just trying to survive here ever since the panini happened. And no, I didn't dream of being in a dimly lit cubicle working 8 to 5. But we're all just really trying to make enough money to do what we really want to do, right? And since when should your job define you? That's just my opinion, at least. But no. I don't think life always happens that way, and I don't think that you need to have a job that you always grew up dreaming of doing. I feel like if I did a job that was also my hobby, I would get tired of it really fast. Did you dream of being divorced before 30? No, life just happens. And second, why can't we all just be perfectly happy having a job that finances the life that we want to really live? I think that's perfectly fine. Also, I feel like the only good thing that came out of the pandemic is at least we can all take showers on our lunch breaks, and if we're going to be overwhelmed at work, we can do it in the comfort of our own home. So in other more exciting news, Speak Now, Taylor's version was just released on Friday. It's Sunday when I'm filming this, and I ordered the vinyl the second it came out. I think I was at a restaurant at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, midnight Eastern. I ordered it. A lot of people are already getting their vinyls in the mail. Mine's not supposed to come till next week, which I'm really upset about. I was actually at Target the other day, and as you know, Target always releases these special edition vinyls that are very slightly different. Not even that different, if I'm being honest. So it was a slightly different variation, and I happened to be at Target. I walked in, and I don't need 2 of the same vinyl, but I figured, well, maybe I would get it if I saw it there. It was completely sold out. And so there are 6 previously unheard songs on this re-recording. Personally, I have not heard of any of the songs, but I know one of them includes Hayley Williams from Paramore, and I believe another one has Fall Out Boy featured. I actually had no idea, but apparently Hayley Williams and Taylor Swift have been friends for a really long time, and I felt like Paramore has been on the scene for so many years. I never realized that they were the same age. Paramore is going to be joining Taylor Swift on her European leg of the Eras tour, and one of the vault songs is called Castles Crumbling, which she also sings in. I know when Speak Now was first released, Taylor Lautner was interviewed, and they famously dated, I think back in 2013. Who remembers the movie Valentine's Day? They were both in the movie together, and they dated for a short amount of time. I believe he is the only person who has a positive song written about him from Speak Now. Back to December is rumored to be about him. And so on this new album, there are 6 previously unreleased vault songs, which Taylor has been doing with every single re-release of her albums. And he is starring in one of the music videos for I Can See You. And I thought that was really cool that she was kind of able to bring him back to star in the music video, even though their history, really funny. He's actually married to somebody named Taylor now, so there's 3 Taylors. Anyway, he's in the music video, and it's actually really good. I always enjoy watching them and trying to figure out all the Easter eggs. And so there are some Easter eggs in the video hinting that 1989 might be the next re-record, which is personally one of my favorite records. That's probably when I listened to her the most. When Speak Now was first released, I wasn't really on the train. I know she had a whole world tour that people really loved. That was before I was kind of driving the Swiftie train. She premiered the music video at her concert in Kansas City, and she invited everyone who was in the video with her, including Taylor Lautner, to come out on stage. And I thought it was really funny that when he was announced, he did some backflips, and I was really impressed by that. I can't believe he is still able to do that, let alone in front of a crowd of hundreds of thousands of people. But so they premiered the music video and watched it. They had her whole archive of outfits throughout her whole eras in the video. And I know today I was watching YouTube videos of Swifties picking out all of the Easter eggs that were in the music video. And she purposely pointed out that all the stunts that he did, there was no stunt double. That was him doing all the stunts on his own. And I thought it was really cool that she invited him and his wife to her show. If that was me, I would probably not be okay with that. But I thought it was really, really neat that she was able to have him star in that, and his wife is actually a really big fan of her, which is kind of funny in my opinion. I know something that people were really talking about before this album was released was one of her songs, Better Than Revenge. She wrote when she was in high school. People were wondering if she was going to change the lyrics to the song because it comes across a little slut-shamey, but the question was, would she be true to the actual authenticity of the song, or would she change it because it's no longer the message that she wants to portray? So there are many opinions about this across the internet. I've seen both sides of it. And in the end, she did end up changing the lyrics, which I'm kind of not surprised that she did. However, it kind of, in my opinion, ruins the nostalgia of rewriting the song because people are still going to want to listen to the original. Although the new lyrics are actually really good. She is a lyrical genius. It's very, the lyrics are they're very fitting. So her merch team also keeps releasing so much merch. I don't know if she got new designers, but I feel like the items that have been coming out lately have been so much better than what she has previously released with this whole new era of Midnights. I don't know if she has heard people's complaints, but I feel like it's slowly starting to get better. But I feel like they keep releasing merch every other week, and my wallet can't handle it. So almost when the merch is not that good, I feel relieved because I don't feel like I want to buy anything. And I know people love the cardigans that she introduced with the folklore era. There's been a couple different variants, and I was pretty surprised that she kind of kept the cardigan theme going just because it was really symbolic of the folklore era. So the other day, out of nowhere, they released this Speak Now cardigan. It's a royal purple variant of this cardigan, and as always, everyone was trying to buy it immediately, and there's all this hype over her products. I know when she released her limited edition, she had these limited edition live Lover in Paris albums, and they were vinyls released for Valentine's Day, and I remember I saw them go in stock, and I thought, no, I don't need that. They sold out in less than 5 minutes. Now they're going for over $700 online, which is outrageous, and now I regret not making that purchase. So I instantly added this cardigan to my cart and panic bought it, and then I regret it when I saw it didn't sell out immediately, but it did sell out within a few hours, so I kind of am excited for it. However, like most of her merch, Nightmare, it doesn't even ship until November, which is kind of ridiculous. Part of the fun of the era, now it's the Speak Now era, not being able to have the Speak Now merchandise until almost Christmas almost defeats the purpose of it, but I'll probably forgot I even bought it and then be excited to have an early Christmas present for myself. So looping back to these lyrics that she changed from Better Than Revenge. The original lyric says she's better known for the things that she does on the mattress, which is unsurprising that she would want to change now as a 30-something-year-old woman. But I thought the new lyrics were pretty clever and they went really well with the song. So she changed it to, he was a moth to the flame and she was holding the matches. I think it's still a bop. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about her changing it versus keeping the original, but I do think people are going to want to stream the original for nostalgia purposes. I know previous artists that have tried to re-record their albums have not had the same success that Taylor Swift has had. For example, JoJo, who remembers JoJo, was huge in the 2000s, and I don't know if her record label was just not on board with adding her prior discography to Spotify and all the streaming services, because that was when it was first getting really big. So she decided to just re-record her whole album, and it sounded nothing like the original. It wasn't bad. She just had her voice had matured and it sounded different for sure. And when I'm thinking of nostalgic songs that I used to love as a teen, I want to hear that version. So something I've really liked about these re-recordings is they sound pretty dang close to the originals, in my opinion. Sometimes I can't even tell the difference, to be honest, but some diehard fans are so picky about them not sounding exactly the same. But the whole point is she's producing it to be the version that she always envisioned it to be. So in that sense, if she wanted to change the lyrics, so be it. And I didn't know this, but so this song is actually originally about, allegedly, Joe Jonas, who she dated very briefly. And I remember when she was on the Ellen show, and I think she was probably 18, and she was talking about somebody who had dumped her over a 30-second phone call on the phone. And it was very obvious at the time to put two and two together that it was Joe Jonas. And speaking of Ellen, it kind of makes me wonder how, after everything that went down with the Ellen DeGeneres show and everything that came out about her, how Taylor actually felt about that, just because she had been on her show quite a few times and she always played along with the skits that Ellen would do and always seemed like she really loved going on the show and loved Ellen. So I kind of wonder how she feels about her very public downfall and the toxic work environment. I remember seeing a clip of Dakota Johnson on the show, who, if you don't know, is the main star of 50 Shades of Grey. I love her. She almost reminds me of, what's that other actress? She almost reminds me of Aubrey Plaza in the sense that she just has this very monotone, dry humor. And she was on the Ellen show, and I remember it was around Christmas time, and Ellen says to her, "Oh, so how was your birthday? I didn't get an invite." And without skipping a beat, Dakota Johnson looks at her and says, "Yes, you did, Ellen. Why are you lying to everybody? You never replied to my invite." And Ellen just does not know what to say. It's a live show, live taping, and she asks her producer off screen, "Is that true? Did we get a invite? I don't remember." And the producer off screen says, "Yeah, you did." And she says, "Oh, I was out of the country or whatever. I remember now. I was with Portia and, I don't know, Turks and Caicos or wherever they were." And it was really, that was like one of the very first, I don't think it's the very first, but one of the most notable public call outs that a guest on her show had done up until that point. Because, I mean, looking back when you're watching this stuff, you think, oh, it's all in good comedy, it's all in good fun, you know, it's scripted, it's funny. But then after all this stuff started coming out about Ellen, people, of course, were compiling tons of clips on the internet, and some stuff, when you watch it back, in retrospect, you go, oh, that's not the same humor that I remember it being. For example, at one episode, she had Mariah Carey on, and she was badgering her to drink some champagne, basically trying to get her to admit that she was pregnant. And she was saying, if you're not, then have a sip of this. And, Mariah looked very uncomfortable. And of course, she's on live TV, and, even people watching it looked very uncomfortable by it. And later on, it came out that, she had been pregnant and then went through a very, private at the time, a private miscarriage. So it was in very bad taste. So on the eve of the Speak Now album being released, during her show, Taylor very publicly said to all of her fans, hey, I know that songs are speculated to be about certain people, and she's always said, I may have written this about one person, but now that they're released into the world, there are songs, and everybody has someone that they can relate this song to, so it's no longer about one person. And please don't bully any one person over who you think this song may or may not be about. And so when her Red album came out, everybody had a Jake Gyllenhaal target, and I thought that was pretty funny. When Speak Now was released, Taylor Lautner was interviewed, and someone asked him, are you worried about this album? And he has a couple of social media reels and TikToks basically reacting to it, saying, I feel like I'm safe, but my thoughts and prayers go out to John Mayer, which I think is so hilarious. He's always been such a good sport, and clearly that he is now in one of her music videos shows that they're all on good terms. She has very publicly said, I don't care about anything that's happened to me when I was 19. The whole point of re-recording this is so I can now own my music. On the other hand, the other reason why people were saying they didn't like that she changed the lyric, which I fully believe she changed it because she wanted to, but I know when Midnights came out, she had this whole scene in Anti-Hero, and the whole theme of the music video is her not being good enough. And there's this scene where she stands on a scale, and you look at the scale, it doesn't say a number, it just says fat. And the whole internet lost their mind and basically bullied her into changing that, and she did take it out. So also, the single from her Lover album, Me, she had this bridge that I admit was kind of random, and at first I didn't really get it, but in the bridge, she and the singer from Fall Out Boy say, hey kids, spelling is fun, which at first is so random, but it was like a fun random thing they wanted to throw in there. The internet bullied her into taking it out. So at the same time, I hate that she changed it because of the pressure from the internet or how it would look. But I truly believe she actually did change this lyric because she wanted to. Also, after watching the music video, it's quite obvious that 1989 will probably be the next re-record, which if you think I've spent a lot of money now, that was my album. I am so excited for that one. But for right now, I admit that Speak Now was not always my favorite album, but I feel like I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the re-records a lot more than I did the originals almost. So I think on my last episode, I was talking about a podcast that I was really excited about that was coming out with Trisha Paytas. Podcast Frenemies with H3's Ethan Klein, I loved, and it was very short-lived. If you follow her, you know they had like a very public fallout, and that ended very quickly, but it was the most entertaining podcast because they were so different and their banter was hilarious. So she was coming out with another podcast with Colleen Bollinger, who is a very public YouTuber, and I think they were distant friends, like people that kind of kept in touch. They had a podcast come out and it was called Oversharing, and I think it lasted maybe 3 episodes, and it was canceled if you follow the internet gossips. Some stuff came out about Colleen and it did not look good. The internet is still blowing up about it, basically about her inappropriate relationships with fans, and it prompted an immediate halt on their podcast. I admittedly have never really followed Colleen. I mean, I did because back in the day, everyone really collabed with one another. So I had heard of her and her character, Miranda Sings. But I did follow this enough to see her apology video, because in the past, people on YouTube have had some crazy things come out, and their apology videos are almost laughable because they're so ridiculous. But this one kind of takes the cake, because she not only didn't take it serious, but she chose to apologize via song on a ukulele. So people were more pissed because the allegations against her are really bad, and she got on the internet and sang an apology song about it. So one thing I will say about Trisha, I've always loved her. I've always loved her mukbang videos, and when I would work late at night, I would come home, I would just put her videos on, and she's really popular for she just doesn't edit anything. And that's actually a lot harder to do than most people would realize, just putting on the camera and being able to talk for 30 minutes straight with zero edits and having something interesting to say and keeping people engaged. And I always thought that was really impressive about her. But I will say this, I've always followed her, even though she's been problematic in the past, but she has always had a way about her that has made people want to watch. Even though people didn't always agree with the things that she did, they were very attention seeking in the beginning. She created videos that were trolling. I will say she's come a very long way. I feel like now it's crazy to see how far she has come with her family and her baby, and she's married, and she just stays out of the drama, which is crazy to think, because she used to base her entire channel, her entire online presence on the drama. So I feel like she's really come such a long way. She did come out with a video kind of touching on this, because obviously she was very closely associated with this person, seeing as she created a podcast with her, and she mentioned that she felt stupid and embarrassed that it ended so quickly. And I was kind of scrolling through all the comments, and most people most of the comments were very positive towards her, which, if you followed her for a long time, that is a massive 180 from what it used to be, because people used to really not be nice to her. And it's really interesting to see how the internet has actually sided with her after she has managed to almost recreate her online presence. And that's very rare to do, in my opinion. And she said something in her video that really resonated with me. She said, I have had a lot of failures, however, I am not a failure. And I thought that was a really great way of phrasing it, because when you're in the public eye like that, you are bound to have ups and downs. And for someone like her to have filmed her entire life, people have seen her at her worst, rock bottom. That takes a lot of guts to do. I feel like she has truly come a long way, and I am so happy to see it. So getting into pop culture news, something I saw about a week ago was relating to Madonna. She was hospitalized for a bacterial infection. I didn't really see much follow-up on it, but apparently she had to be revived with Narcan to combat septic shock. And I am not certain if she is still hospitalized or if she's doing better. I know she was expected to be on tour. I'm not sure if she was actually on tour or if she was about to be touring, but it was all canceled because of this, and now she is hopefully doing better. I haven't seen any follow-up on it, but that sounds so scary. Speaking of pop icons, Britney Spears was also in the news lately, and I thought this was kind of an odd story. So Britney Spears was recently in Vegas. I think she was staying at a hotel with her husband, and they went out to get dinner at another hotel. And I think that a famous NBA player was staying at her hotel, and she had seen him. She had seen him at her hotel and then coincidentally saw him again at the restaurant they were going to eat at. So the story goes, according to Britney, that she wanted to congratulate this NBA player. And you know what? I don't even know his name offhand. It's Victor Wembanyama. I don't know. So she wanted to congratulate this 19-year-old kid. He is a French basketball player, and he was selected as first overall in the 2023 NBA draft after he played for France for many years. So apparently he's played for 3 professional French teams since 2019, and he now plays for the San Antonio Spurs. So Britney Spears sees this boy, 19-year-old boy, and she wants to congratulate him. So according to her, it's very loud in the restaurant, and she taps him on the shoulder to congratulate him. And apparently he's there with a bodyguard, and the bodyguard immediately backhands Britney in the face. First of all, how dare you touch the princess of pop like that after everything that Britney has been through? This is the last thing that she deserves. Second, as a human being, what the hell? Britney Spears has been famous her entire life, has had security, fans throwing themselves at her for her entire teenage and adult years, and has never had any of her security guards assault somebody, basically. I don't know if it was exaggerated. Either way, unnecessary. In my opinion, this boy is about to become the most hated person in America. You don't treat our princess of pop like that. She later posted on her Instagram her recollection of the event, and of course she is very upset about it, rightfully so. It's embarrassing for her. The media follows her around everywhere. And of course, they're waiting for something else to go wrong in her life. And immediately this happened, it's reported everywhere. So I really do feel for her, especially after everything she's been through. The whole situation just seems really gross, especially because according to her, after it happened, this NBA star thought it was funny, laughed that his security guard just basically assaulted her. There's a new social media app. I cannot keep up with the social media apps. It's called Threads, and it's owned by Meta, aka Mark Zuckerberg, and its direct competitor is Twitter. And first looking at it, it looks almost like a direct ripoff of Twitter. It looks exactly the same. However, according to one of my girlfriends at least, because it's owned by Meta, you're able to link all of your Instagram followers to it. So if you create this new Threads account, you automatically inherit your followers and you can follow the same people, and it's all connected, which I believe is part of the appeal of it. So Twitter, aka now owned by Elon Musk, is immediately putting a cease and desist out for this new Meta app. And it goes back to my last podcast when I was talking about the cage fight. Is this fuel to the fire? Do you think it's actually going to happen? I still haven't quite decided if I would be creating a Threads. I kind of get overwhelmed when there's too many social media apps to hop on, but I do hear early adopters are rewarded. Oh, I don't know. I think another distinguishing feature with Threads is it's supposed to filter out all of the negative energy that people say Twitter has, and there is a lot of chaotic keyboard warriors, as you call them, on Twitter. Threads is supposed to filter all of that out, but it's crazy because I feel like I log online and I see everywhere people talking about it, posting about it, and I always wonder if these apps pay people with large followings to announce it to their followers. That makes sense, right? They probably are. But who remembers a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, everyone was talking about this new app called Lemon 8. Same thing. I also remember when there was talk of TikTok being banned, everyone was hopping on an app called Triller, which is now you don't hear about it either. So who knows if these apps are going to get off the ground or not. I remember when there was the Google version of Facebook that recently closed down because nobody wanted to join that. But having all of these social medias is exhausting. So what do you think about Threads? Are you going to get it? Do you have it? Will you be getting another social media? I'm not really sure yet for me. So I've been a fan of Hilary Duff for years and years and years. She's about my age, and I follow her husband as well on social media. She's married to Matthew Coma, who I did not know who he was before I looked him up, but he is a singer in a band called the Winnetonka Bowling League, and he's also produced many popular songs on the radio that I would have no idea. He actually wrote many top charting songs. One of the most notable songs that he wrote was Clarity, that was made famous by Zed. It was all over the radio. And I believe he also met his wife when he helped her produce her album Breathe In, Breathe Out, which was her last album that she released before she kind of stopped doing the whole music business. And I think she's publicly said that she's never really felt that comfortable with singing, but when you're a Disney star, you do the whole shebang, right? You act, you sing, you dance, you do everything that the Disney train wants you, the Disney machine wants you to do. But personally, I thought Hilary Duff had a lot of bops. I kind of want her to come back and make some more music, and her husband is hilarious. He is he is a massive online troll, which I find so funny. He actually was banned off of Twitter because when Gwyneth Paltrow was going through her trial, he changed his profile picture and name to Gwyneth Paltrow, and because he's a celebrity, he has the blue check mark. So once he changed his name and his photo to Gwyneth Paltrow, you could not tell the difference between their accounts. So he started tweeting at all these people as Gwyneth Paltrow, and people actually believed that it was her saying all this crazy stuff, and Twitter banned him, which I thought was really funny. Anyway, looping back to Threads, I saw him post one of his first Threads posts was, "Gwyneth, are you here yet?" I think he's managed to get Hilary to sing background on a couple of songs recently, maybe a few years ago. She also starred in the music video for one of his songs. I believe it was called, what was it called? It was filmed entirely in a CVS, and they filmed it after hours, and she was like the video girl, the pharmacist, and she looked really good. But I hope he convinces her to do more music, especially since she's married to a music producer who can help her out. But I thought she had some fun music. She had some bops. I was just thinking the other day about Snoop Dogg, and I was laughing to myself. I was talking to my boyfriend, and he said, Snoop Dogg will literally put his name on anything. We'll be at a gas station. We'll see lighters with him and Martha Stewart, and it'll say it could be used for a variety of things. So I was watching one of my favorite podcasts the other day, The Sip, with Rylan Adams and Lizzie Gordon, and they were going through the Jack in the Box drive-thru, and apparently Snoop Dogg has this new Snoop Dogg meal, and it is a $14 meal. I believe it comes with some sort of chicken hot dog sandwich with french fries and cheese, a taco, a brownie, and a shake. And I just thought that was so funny because I was just talking about how Snoop Dogg will literally put his name on anything. It's called the Snoop Dogg Munchie Meal, and I would love to try it, but I bet it's at least 20,000 calories, a whole week's worth of calories in one sitting. Another pop news, Olivia Rodrigo came out and announced that she's going to have her second album. It's called Guts, which I think is really funny. It's a perfect name considering her first album was called Sour. She released her first lead single off the album, and I just was coincidentally Googling her or looking her up that day, and it happened to be released that day, and I thought it was really good. She also, because the main song has some explicit words in it, she has to come out with a clean version, and I thought it was hilarious because she put up on TikTok all of the versions that she had recorded for her clean version, and they were all just so ridiculous, so outrageous, just hilarious outtakes for this clean version of the song. People have actually compared the trajectory of her career to Taylor Swift's. I know she's really young and brand new, but people love Olivia Rodrigo, and I know when her song Driver's License came out, I played that at least 100 times over and over and over again, and I would play it in my car, and I would play it very loudly, and when I'm in my car playing music very loudly, I'm the only person that can hear that music, or so I thought, but I would be parked, and people definitely heard the song blaring from my car, even though none of the windows were open. So I'm actually really excited for this album. I really like the lead single so far. She's a really good songwriter, and she's so young. I feel like she's going to have a really long career, and I wish I learned how to play piano. That's something I never learned how to do. I can read music, but something about the piano I could never pick up. Another more scandalous news, I saw this article about Aubrey O'Day, who, if you don't know, she was in the band Danity Kane, who was famously put together by P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Puff Dragon, whatever name he goes by. He had a show called Making the Band in the 2000s, and it was basically a reality TV show competition for a band that he wanted to put together of the best singers and dancers and the best of the best. So it was this competition. She was on the show. He put together this band, and I believe it was 5 people, and they called themselves Danity Kane. I believe they came out with 2 albums before I think Aubrey wanted a solo career and the band broke up, but they actually had some really good songs too. And I saw this article recently, and apparently she had an affair with Donald Trump Jr., and they hooked up at a gay club, which is very odd. But I used to love Danity Kane. I thought they had some bops. They disbanded. So I never knew this, but apparently she claimed they first started talking when she was on Celebrity Apprentice. She did a lot of spin-off shows after making the band, and I think one of the reasons why the band also broke up is because she wanted this very adult image. She got these huge implants, and Diddy kind of said to her, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be marketed to young girls. Like, you got to tone it back a little bit." But if you've seen Aubrey O'Day, that's the exact opposite of what she wants to do. She is not going to tone it back. Super random, but I actually grew up where Aubrey O'Day did. We are both from the same area, and even more of a coincidence, we were actually in the same theater program. She is a few years older than me, so we used to do these acting programs in Palm Springs area. There is a very popular theater. It's called the McCallum Theater, and every year they do productions like The Wizard of Oz, Fiddler on the Roof, Sound of Music, and I would be in them every year. And her being a little bit older, she would always be in the lead parts, and I remember I was always so excited because I got to miss school for a week or two just to be a part of these productions, and they were so fun. But that's a little trivia. I thought it was really funny that someone that I don't think I had ever met her in person. I think my mom had met her mom. She was very much a stage mom. But it's just very interesting when somebody in your relative area becomes famous, and it's just very interesting to see how her career turned out and just all the crazy stuff in the news. I think she was dating the guy from Jersey Shore for a bit, Pauly. Another one of my favorite podcasts, and I've mentioned this before, is The Girls Next Door. It used to be my favorite TV show when I was in high school. My mom and I would watch it together every single week, and I remember loving Holly, Bridget, and Kendra. I thought they were so cute. I thought their life was so fun. So now we're seeing that that was not the case. They are very publicly coming out against Playboy and talking about their experience, and they have since launched a podcast called The Girls Next Level. And in the podcast, they go through every single episode and they discuss the behind the scenes, which I, as somebody that was such a big fan of the show, I love. So when Holly left the mansion, I know she had a Vegas residency for a bit. She starred in this show, a Vegas show called Peep Show, I believe for 2 seasons, and she had a spin-off TV show. She wrote 2 books about her time at the Playboy Mansion, and some of the things that she wrote in the book were disputed by a couple of other people, one being her very public fallout with Kendra Wilkinson, who was also one of Hef's girlfriends. She denies some of the things that she said happened or doesn't believe it. Also, after Holly left, Hef married Crystal Hefner, which seemed to come out of left field, if I remember, because one of the big themes on the TV show was that Hef said he would never get married again. I think he was with Holly for about 7 years before she left, and then out of nowhere he marries this other girl 6 months later, which to me I felt was like a major slap in the face. Of course, Crystal also took Hef's side in the allegations, but something interesting I saw the other day is now she is coming out with a tell-all book of her own. I'm pretty certain that none of them were required to sign NDAs. Of course, while they were there, they couldn't say anything, but since it's been a while, apparently she is now coming out with her tell-all book, and the headline that I saw said that she admits that she lied about a lot of things to protect Hef. So that's a big smoking gun, and I think that's really fascinating because she has always sided with Kendra in the side of the rumors, and it seems like Kendra wants nothing to do with any of it. I looked at her social media recently. It looks like she now sells real estate. She has a spin-off TV show called Kendra Sells Hollywood, and I think she's very publicly said that her time at the mansion very much has traumatized her, and she's been through a lot of therapy, but at the time, from what I recall, she said that it was like her saving grace because she was a very misguided young adult and teenager. So I remember her time on the show, her and her family thought her being there and having some sort of structure and rules was actually a good thing. So I wonder if she'll ever come out and say anything. I would love to see her on the podcast and talk about the episodes, but at this point it seems very unlikely, especially since it seems like Holly and Bridget in many ways feel like Kendra was favored, and one of the reasons why she doesn't think a lot of these allegations actually happened is because she came way later, years and years later, into the mansion and didn't see it. And she was also younger than them as well. So I find that all very fascinating. I am not one to really sit down and have a lot of time to read, but I do really love listening to audiobooks, especially one of my favorite ones was Naya Rivera's book. The late Naya Rivera, she was in Glee, and she did pass away a few years ago now by drowning in LA, if you remember that whole incident. And I listened to her autobiography on Audible, and what I think was really cool about it is it was narrated by her, which I really liked. So I kind of want to get back into it, but I don't know. I have to look into the logistics of the subscription. But I would love to listen to this book and see what Crystal Hefner has to say. I think she's a DJ now. And I never read either of Holly's books, but I would be interested to read those as well. What do you think? Do you think it's likely that Kendra will ever come out, say anything? Personally, I think she just wants to put that part of her life behind her. I don't think she'll ever come out publicly and say anything. She's also had it rough too. When she left the mansion, she married this famous, I think he was an NFL player, and he very publicly was cheating on her. And it was a whole huge news debacle. So I don't think that she will ever write a book or go on the podcast. It doesn't seem to me like the three of them will be making amends anytime soon. So that's all I have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for joining. I cannot wait for my Speak Now cardigan to come in November. Have you been streaming the album? What do you think? Are you a Swiftie? Let me know. Are you excited for the next re-recording? Do you think it's going to be 1989? And until next week, I will see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.